Hello everyone and welcome to the InnerSun project. On today's tutorial we're going to talk about the basics of prototyping with Rhino. We took this model and prototyped it using a CNC machine and ended up with something that looked like this. And here is our MDF completed prototype. So going back into Rhino here, in order to go from this model to that model, there are a lot of preliminary steps that basically happen in just a line of thinking. The first line of thinking is scale. This is a very big structure. In the Rhino environment here, we have it's 84 feet to the top of this. This is very large, so we can't prototype this in full scale. That would be just building it and actually is not very useful to us at this point. So we need to think about scale. How big do we want this prototype to be? Well, we know that we want to be able to fit it on a table, and without shrinking this down too much, if we shrink it down to fit, say, in our actual hands, we would lose a lot of this detail in using the process that we're trying to use. So first thing we got to think of is scale, and when we're thinking of scale, we think of how big do we want the prototype to be. And thinking about how big the prototype is going to be, we want to think about who are we going to show it to, and where are we going to show it, and how are we going to show it. The other things to think about are what do we want this prototype to be made out of. This structure is primarily made from wood, so we wanted to make a wood prototype. So all these matters came into play when thinking about what machine to use and what scale to make this. So we decided to make this about 2 feet wide, 2 feet tall, etc., which made these pieces very small, but still we were able to cut them on a CNC. Because we were using a CNC router that cuts wood and primarily on 2 axes, we had to think in a way that was in 2 dimensions or flat. So essentially the process that we used is we went through this model and broke it apart into all the parts that we could lay flat. For example, these trusses. This is one truss. We could easily lay that flat onto a sheet. Now, since this is 3-dimensional, it wouldn't do us any good to just make a 2-dimensional piece. But if we use the thickness of the material as 1 dimension, then we will get 3 dimensions. So that's how we planned this out. We decided to use a material thickness of 1/4 inch, and which meant that all the pieces cut out of it would be 1 foot thick, because our final scale was 1/4 inch equals a foot. Or we scaled this down 48 times. So our final prototype was 1/48 the size of this. So that's about all that we're going to go into with this first episode. The next episode we will talk about the exact process that we use, and I'll run you through the commands to get this thing broken apart and sliced up and put onto sheets so that it can be cut. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I hope you subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.